color is that? It's purple. This, in my view, is a purple cover. It's a Grimace. It's the 50th anniversary of Grimace. Grimace is one of the characters of McDonald Land. McDonald Land was created to be an imitation of Disneyland and Disneyland characters by Ray Kroc. If you've ever seen the special on Netflix about Ray Kroc, you will find out that the guy was kind of an evil Grimace himself. Now, what's interesting about that is I've done a lot of articles and chapters about McDonald's and McDonald Land over the years, featuring Ronald McDonald as a character who represents the clown part of the chronotope of Mikhail Bakhtin. The second character that's very dominant is the rogue, the thief. And in McDonald Land, there's several of them, but Hamburglar has the main role of the thief and is part of that chronotope. I'll explain what a chronotope is in a minute, so don't freak out. And Grimace is the fool. Now, it's pretty clear that Ray Kroc probably hired an English major or a rhetoric major or literature major of some sort, and the chronotope was positioned and modified grossly. It's now the 50th anniversary of some of these characters, including Grimace, and in honor of the 50th anniversary, McDonald's Corporation brought out a purple milkshake, and Grimace, the character, looks like a purple, wearing a purple blanket and gloves, and originally had 4 arms, and was called the Evil Grimace in 1972. And the Evil Grimace would steal things. So it was a kind of a distortion of the Bakhtinian character of the chronotope. Chronotope means time-space, so the treatment of time-space in the novel. Theatrical masks, the mask of the clown, the mask of the thief, and the mask of the fool. As Bakhtin explains them, these 3 masked characters were formed in medieval times on the public square, and would speak back to power, speak back to the papal, the clergy, and speak back to the kings and queens and nobility, and would bring up certain conventions that were abhorrent and taken for granted and needed to shine some light on these practices. And now, of course, when McDonald's does this, they take this a very powerful archetype of the 3 masks, and they use it for marketing purposes. And that's why the original Evil Grimace was just stealing children's fries and hamburgers, etc. Now, in the 1980s, Grimace was refashioned by marketing and only had 2 arms and was a little bit more happy-go-lucky character. Doesn't speak much, but in the Bakhtinian way, what's interesting about the fool character, I think you can understand the rogue, right? And you can understand the clown. And let me do a little bit of what's happened to Ronald McDonald, the clown, over the years. In England in the 1990s, a lot of parents objected to the clown because it seemed to be a pervert. It was a child molester. There wasn't actually child molesting going on, but it had that whole imitation or imagery And so they've really backed off on Ronald McDonald, 1990, 2000, 2010. They're not doing that much with Ronald because the character, that chronotope is just, they didn't manage it really well. It's supposed to be critique, right? Now, in the 1980s, when McDonald's released, I think it was 8 videotapes that you could buy in the store. They're VHS tapes, and they were about going to the island, had kind of an environmental theme like that. And that's more in keeping with kind of the use of that chronotope as Bakhtin might imagine it. Although Bakhtin would be looking at abuses of power too, and how these chronotopic characters can bring that out. So you fast forward now, and so Ronald McDonald is not seen that much, and Hamburglar is not seen that much stealing children's food. It's just not a good image for the corporate. So what they're doing now, they're bringing out Grimace, and once again, the general public or social media people, particularly younger people in their 20s and 30s, are making a whole series of TikTok and YouTube videos about Grimace and the 50th anniversary of Grimace and the purple milkshake. Now, what these usually are, I could show you a few if you want to see them, but I'll just explain them. They drink a purple milkshake. They sing the Grimace song. How wonderful is the milkshake? Happy birthday, Grimace. And then they cut, and the next scene, the person's dead. They got milkshake all over their face and their body, and they're just in a sewer somewhere, or they're laying on the pavement. And so that's the public square treatment of the McDonald's celebration. Now, for McDonald's, they're getting from those TikToks and YouTubes, just the YouTubes, more than 4, 5, 6, 10 of them, more than 100 million hits. So that's a lot of advertising exposure for them, even though it kind of presents a dark image of the Grimace. Now, what was the Grimace in Bakhtin? I'm giving some background here because we hope to go to do some Grimace filming in Duncan's territory there at Fisk University. That whatever the local McDonald's is, we're going there. I'm going to bring my Ronald McDonald wig and my Ronald McDonald shoes. I don't know, maybe the yellow shirt, we'll see, and do some dress up. And then we'll need Duncan to play the Grimace, because I don't think I can get Grace Ann to do it again. We'll see. And then the Hamburglar, I'm thinking Jillian would do pretty good at that. So we'll do some dress up, and then what's fun is to go into a McDonald's dressed as the characters and then see how the staff reacts and the manager, because I've done it before in Canada and dressed as Ronald McDonald's, and they initially say, "Oh, Ronald's here. Yay, Ronald." And the patrons are all there, and then the manager looks at me and says, "Well, that costume's not quite right. There's something wrong with that costume. And you're not Ronald McDonald." What do you mean? And then I get into this dialogue, and then I get thrown out of McDonald's. So, but the Grimace character would be one where if Duncan doesn't mind, we'll take a purple milkshake and rip off his costume and pour it all over him and leave him dead on the ground. He's thinking about that, like
thinking how much funnier it would be if we did the Ronald McDonald characters go into the Starbucks.
Your sound is all off again. We're not.
Sorry. I said the funnier thing would be to dress up as the McDonald's McDonald's characters and go to the Starbucks on campus, and that'll really confuse them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if social media needs to have confusion, but I'll show you the one that Grace Ann and I did. I mean, you've seen it before, but hopefully you have some context. First of all, Grace Ann was wearing brand new purple t-shirts, 2 of them to make the Grimace costume. And there was no way I was going to be able to pour a purple milkshake on her and lay her on the ground in my blacksmith shop. But we have a chance to bring some people have done a video on the history of this, and they get it wrong. You know, I haven't deconstructed their historical thing, but they got some of it right, but a lot of it they got wrong. But nobody's done like the original Bakhtin. Even I didn't do it in this video, pull out what the Bakhtinian chronotopes are and how that all works. Because as soon as I use the word chronotope, that's it. They're out of there. They're gone. The viewers are gone, you know. So I wanted to produce something that was a more positive image, even though I'm clunking her on the head. I mean, I guess that's kind of like not a good image either, is it, David? All right.
Well, David, actually, I love that. I mean, I think this is wonderfully done. You know, so incredibly creative. It certainly gets attention. Also, I had a question, you know, the flower of surrender, David. I mean, does that have historical roots somewhere?
No, that's pure creative imagination.
Okay, I was wondering if there was a source, you know, a historical source for that, but
No. What McDonald Land does with the professor character is he's the character that created Chick McNuggets, and he's the character that's created a number of different items in McDonald's menu. And for a while there, they would trot him out and show him producing it. Like, you can go on YouTube and just go the Professor McDonald Land, and you'll see him bringing out chicken McNuggets. He was also featured in the Adventures of Ronald McDonald series on VCR tapes that you might find in, I don't know, on eBay. Yeah. So he appears there. So I thought it'd be neat, but maybe it's a little bit complex to bring out the professor and then Grimace and then do too much. You know what I mean? So if I just bring out Grimace, say happy anniversary, and then drop dead, boom, we get 20 million hits.
There's a certain style to that trope, and certainly can push the trope in a way that'll integrate things. But it would seem to me that the purpose, maybe I'm wrong, maybe the purpose of the Rogue Clown Fool is to get to the Rob Elysium and show the power mask and the visceral that underlies the reality of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So what if this then happened? You did this integration that then revealed actual people actually suffering for the benefit of the creation of a Grimace milkshake. You know, like maybe something that just subverts the fun dark story, and in fact shows that people are really suffering, and it really is a dark story that they're covering up with a dark story.
You know, what Grimace would do is he's like an alien that comes down to Earth in the Bakhtinian sense, and he's confused by technology. He's the fool that's looking at technology and wondering, like, okay, why am I speaking into this speaker to take my order? You know, what's that about? And if McDonald's is going the way of Taco Bell and they're removing employees and you're having to place your orders online and then pick them up, he would stand up over there where they're picking up the orders and say, well, what happened to the people that worked here? You know, what is this machine doing with the order? Why aren't people cooking? You know what I mean? That would be the kind of critique that a Grimace, you know, so he's a fool, but he's not stupid. He's actually bringing out a profound insight into the use of technology in organizations. You know what I mean? That would be the way Bakhtin would use that in the space of McDonald's in the time of 2023. You're playing with something that is so powerful from medieval archetype that it can't help but go astray the way you see it going in social media, but you can use it in its powerful way to expose some things. It's one of the reasons I did a little thing on the Ray Kroc, because if you think about it, he is kind of the evil genius of McDonald's, you know, who took over the franchise from the McDonald brothers and paid too much for it, by the way. But then he stayed with it, and but he was kind of an evil character if you've seen the biography. You know, he's really more like the evil Grimace. But I didn't really make the point in the video. Anyway, in a social media thing, you can only do like one thing, and as soon as you do 5 things, you're like, I don't know, it's not working. You're not getting any hits, you know.
David, I was thinking about this. I wanted to see what you thought. As you were talking, I was trying to think the difference between a chronotope.
Get closer.
Technology and I have been fighting all week. I'm on the losing end.
Yeah, you're like Grimace. See how well you do the Grimace?
It's true. If I think about a chronotope versus an archetype, how would you differentiate those two?
Differentiate what two?
A chronotype versus an archetype.
Oh, it's a chronotope.
I'm sorry, chronotope. Mm-hmm.
Well, the archetype are theatrical characters, right? And they're archetypical characters, the clown, rogue, fool. But they also are particular chronotopes picked up from medieval time and thrust into the future, being used by this corporation to advertise their products, which you and I all know that these are not healthy products for any nation to be consuming. But people are consuming those products anyway. And one of the interesting things about the Bakhtin book, if you look at it, what color is that? It's purple. This, in my view, is a purple cover. It's a Grimace cover on that book, anyway. But let's switch gears. What is Bakhtin studying? What is the use of the grotesque? And he's very keen about Dostoevsky. So if you read Notes from the Underground, which I was suggesting to Duncan's student to read the chronotope section of Dialogic Imagination and Notes from the Underground, if you kind of speed read through the Notes from the Underground, it's all about humans find freedom in suffering. Now, that might sound odd to you, but
hold on, David, excuse me, you said that humans find freedom in suffering?
Correct, yeah. And Dostoevsky's point, Dostoevsky's point is that people are not predicted by psychologists or psychoanalysts that have these trait theories of how people are to behave, and we wear our mask and fulfill the role of our mask. That's a connection to chronotope. fulfill the role of the mask, but rather we have the freedom to break out of the mask of social norms. And Dostoevsky makes the point in Notes from the Underground that we are capable of not being the empirical matrix of empirical categories that are assessed, surveys, and all those kind of tests that are done, because that's not who we are. Who we are is freedom. And our freedom is to break out of that. And one of the ways we break out of it, and I'm only bringing this up for Duncan because he likes this stuff, but is to engage in suffering. And that's why Kierkegaard is, the philosopher of suffering, and Dostoevsky is a philosopher of suffering, and all this stuff about the happy life and the white picket fence and being married and blah blah blah, and going the tropes of society. People are breaking out of that, and they are rogues, they are thieves, and there are clowns, and there are fools out there who are not so much in the public square, although some of them are. But I don't know if that helps you or makes it more confusing. But I mean, in the Bakhtinian way, he's looking at this. What did people do in a Rabelaisian way? Rabelais was a doctor in Lyon, France, who used to go to festivals. And a festival in Europe in the medieval time would last not just a weekend, but it could last a whole week, half a month. He could be gone 2 months, drinking and having sex and wearing clown uniforms and, acting the fool, demonstrating and whatever. And Rabelais, is one of the heroic figures for Bakhtin, as is Dostoevsky. From Dostoevsky, he gets the polyphonic interpretation, the multiple voices in a narrative.